illnesses, realize that you can still lead a pretty healthy and active lifestyle. It's just not going to be the one that you had envisioned for yourself. But the time is going to pass regardless. And it's up to you to make the best of your situation. And you're going to have to forgive me. It is mosquito season. And, my ankles got chewed up earlier today. I'm itchy. But I've been really I've been thinking a lot about happiness lately. And I actually went through a phase where I got into this really morbid position of, well, happiness is a modern construct, which I still think is true to a point because, 100, 200 years ago, they were a lot more worried about survival than about being happy. But we do have that luxury today. So why would we not pursue it? So here are some things. This information, by the way, is from lifehack.org, which is, I just can't stand the name, but they didn't ask me. Obviously. But they do have some really good information over there. So, 8 things you need to remove from your life if you want to be happier. Number 1, excuses. You know what an excuse is? It's a lie that you're telling yourself. You need to accept full responsibility for where you are because, I don't care what your situation is. You had a role. You had a role in putting yourself where you are at. So, when you're pointing your finger at everybody else, you need to remember that every time you point a finger at someone else, you got 3 fingers pointing back at yourself. And if you cannot or will not accept responsibility for where you are, you're probably not going to change very much. So I hope you're happy. Number 2, you really need to remove the idea of perfectionism from your life because it doesn't exist. People who chase perfectionism are setting themselves up to fail. You have to let that idea go. I know a girl, and oh, God bless her. I feel for her. I really do. She makes the holidays. I couldn't spend the holidays with her. I mean, she's uber organized, and I respect that tremendously. And I wish I was more like that in a lot of ways. But she's organized to the point of, like, I asked her one year, my first year cooking a turkey, like, hey, I know you've got a good recipe. Will you send it to me? She's like, "Oh, I'll send you my file." And it was like 8:30 in the morning, do this, 8:45, do that. She had the whole day planned out in 15-minute increments. Now, all I needed was the turkey information. But I got to tell you, reading her thing, I was just like, oh my gosh, that's so stressful for me. She was trying to make it a perfect holiday. You know where perfect holidays exist? Magazines and TV or movies. That's it. They don't exist in real life because people are not perfect. Life is messy. People are messy. You've got to let go of that idea. You're driving yourself crazy chasing something that you can never attain. Number 3, you need to let go of your fears. If you want to be a happier person, okay, look, most of what we build up as fear, it's our fragile little egos not wanting to be bruised. But as one of my mentors likes to say, unless you're being chased by a bear, which I probably got the best odds of anybody seeing this video of being chased by a bear. And you know what? It's never once happened to me, thank God. I do know people it has happened to, but it hasn't happened to me. But you can't hide behind that. It's literally just a limitation you've put on yourself. There's a story about with elephants, and they start out with the baby elephants with this big heavy chain, and by the time it gets to be an adult elephant, they can just tie a a real thin rope around its leg, and it's going to think, because it's been trained to think that, oh, I can't go anywhere, I've got this thing around my leg. Well, you kind of do that to yourself when you hide behind your fear, because your fears are, I'm sorry, and I'm really guilty of this, so this is blunt talk to me too, but it's just bullshit. It's just an excuse. Quit hiding. Don't minimize yourself. What the hell are you so afraid of? So what, you're going to try and fail? You know what's more embarrassing? If you never try. That should be a lot more embarrassing. Number 4, if you want to be happier, you need to let go of your need to control. I don't really have a lot of interest in controlling other people, but there's certain things about my life that I am pretty rigid about. I can be really, to the point that I'm sure it's obnoxious to the people around me. But you can't control everything. You can't control what's going to happen. You can't control what other people are going to say or what other people are going to do. You certainly can't control world events. You need to learn how to control how you choose to voice. You can either go with that initial, oh, I'm so pissed off reaction, or you can learn, you can teach yourself how to take an emotional step back and kind of assess the situation and then choose how you're going to respond. Number 5, you need to let go of a fixed mindset. If you want to be happier, you're going to have to be really open to change. You're going to have to be teachable. You're going to have to fall in love with learning. You're going to have to put in some work. You are going to have to put in some work. Look, I know I'm really fortunate. I've met a lot of very successful, happy people, and they all told me, every single one of them without exception, they've done personal development work. Well, guess what? That stuff's not easy. But I will tell you, it can make a tremendous difference in your life if you allow it to. I talked the other day, I don't think it's in here. Crap, it's not. I'm reading a book called The 15 Irrefutable Laws of Growth. And my goal initially was to do a chapter a week, but I read a little bit and I journal, and I read a little bit and I journal. And so my minimum requirement is I have to write at least a page a day. Some days I'll write 3 or 4 pages. Some days I write just a single page and I'm done. I'm only on the 4th law, and I have learned so much about myself. It's been a just completely mind-blowing experience. Now, the funniest part, I've read this book before, but I wasn't ready. So I didn't get, in fact, I remember reading it and thinking, this isn't me. This isn't who I am, because I wasn't at that point. But I'm ready. I want to make changes. I want to be happier. I can't just keep sitting here feeling sorry for myself and not doing anything. It's stupid. It's just dumb. It's such a waste of time and energy. So if you want to be happier, fall in love with learning. Find somebody. John Maxwell is someone I highly recommend. He can teach you a lot about yourself and about leadership, but find an area of your life that you want to grow in and go pick up a book, go find a podcast, follow somebody's YouTube. There's so much help available out there. You don't even have to make an investment in yourself until you're ready, but you can start down the path and start taking responsibility for your life. I got on a soapbox there, didn't I? Number 6 thing you need to let go of if you want to be happy. You need to let go of the desire and the idea of overnight success, because no, no, unless you're just one of those freaky lucky people who wins the lottery, which I highly do not recommend as an investment strategy, playing the lottery. But unless you win the lottery, there is no such thing as an overnight success. When you see like an artist, a performer that makes it big and they say, oh, they're an overnight success. BS. No, they're not. They spent years and years practicing their craft, honing their skills so that they could get to that point. One of my friends said, oh, Courtney, that's ridiculous. What about tech millionaires? Okay, what about them? It's not like they sat down at a computer for the very first time and magically created something wonderful that they could sell for a ton of money. It doesn't work that way. There is a lot of work that goes on behind the scenes that people aren't aware of. People don't think about. If you want that kind of success, you're going to have to suck it up, put on your big girl or your big boy pants, and put your nose to the grindstone. Number 7. This was the first bit of this advice I ever took. If you want to be a happier person, you really need to learn to let go of toxic people in your life. Life is too short for nasty people. I have a very simple litmus test. If you don't lift me up, I don't have the time, energy, or patience for your nonsense. I just don't. I'm up to here with health issues. I have a job that can be very demanding. I have a life like anybody else. I don't have time for your shit. I just don't. Now, obviously, if you're dealing with someone who is not easy to just gently nudge out of your life, please don't be mean to people. Just be unavailable. You don't have to be ugly. You don't have to be confrontation. I'm sorry, I'm not available. Can't do that. But you need to make sure if it's someone you can't gently ease out of your life, you have to set boundaries with them. That is on you. And you know what else is going to be on you? And it's going to be hard if you've never done this before. You're going to have to reinforce those boundaries. And that's not easy, but it's doable. I worked with a woman several years ago. She was very difficult to get along with. Not just for me, like almost everybody had a hard time getting along with her, but the big boss really liked her for whatever reason. None of us could figure that out. But she works in a different building from me. And so I'm walking across one day and I caught myself. I was getting myself really worked up and agitated. I'm like, oh man, if I made any mistakes, she's going to nitpick the crap out of me. And I was getting really agitated. And all of a sudden I was like, wait a minute. Why am I giving this crazy lady this kind of power over my day? So I switched my thinking. Okay. Yes, she's going to nitpick the crap out of me, but she has an eye for detail that I don't. I mean, she's the one you can hand her a 10-page form and she's going to find the one typo on the whole form and she's going to find it that fast. Now, when I had that approach with her, did that make her personality suddenly better? No, it certainly did not. But it made it a lot easier for me to receive what she was going to say with good grace. And I tried to get to the point. It didn't always succeed, but I tried to thank her. I appreciate you for pointing that out. You're correct. I missed that. I'll fix it and I'll get it right back to you. But my point is, if you're I could not ease her out of my life. I had to deal with her. So I had to change my thinking about the situation. I had to I didn't really set a boundary with her, but I set a boundary in my own mind of how I was going to deal with her. Maybe it's a family member. Maybe I never had kids and my mom, I don't think she would have ever done this. So I don't feel like I'm throwing her under the bus. But maybe your mom doesn't like the way you raise your children. And you're on the phone and she starts in and you don't want to hear it. Because you know what? You don't have to. There's no law that says you have to listen to somebody berate you ever. But you don't want to be rude. She's your mother. So you just politely tell her, you know what, mom? I don't want to discuss this with you. I love you, but I've got things to go do. So you have a great night. I'll call you in a couple of days and hang up the phone and just walk away. It's going to be very difficult the first few times. And she might even call you back. If she does, don't answer. You told her you were busy. Don't lie. Go find something to do. Keep yourself busy because it'll keep your mind off it. But you need to set those boundaries. If you don't, then you can't bitch that she does that to you because you're allowing it. Excuse me. This one is so important for people with health issues. If you want to be happier, you're going to have to let go of the need to say yes. People with health issues, we tend this in fact, this was the first thing when I was diagnosed, the very first thing they told me was you need to learn how to say no. Because when you're dealing with this stuff, you feel so guilty for the things that you think you should be doing that you already feel like you should be doing and you're not getting them done. So of course, let's be very logical. You want to dump something else on my shoulders? Certainly I'll do that. Look, you need to understand that no is a complete sentence. You don't owe anyone an explanation. If they ask you to do something that you don't want to do, just simply say no. That's it. You don't have to explain. I would just because I'm really bad at people pleasing and I don't want anyone to be upset, but I will also say people don't ask me to do things that much anymore because most of people in my life I have a small world because of my health issues. So most people know better than to ask me to do much. But that being said, if it's if one of my friends needs me, of course I'm going to be there. Of course, I'm going to be there. But if you are dealing with health issues, particularly, you've got to stop being a people pleaser. The only person you really need to worry about pleasing is yourself. And I don't mean that in a selfish way, but make sure you're being true to your values. Make sure that you are taking care of yourself. You have to put on your own oxygen mask before you can help anybody else. So it's okay to tell them no. If you're overburdened, you're overburdened. Don't let anybody make you feel guilty about that. And finally, here's my bonus one. Something you really need to let go of if you want to be happier: comparisons. You're always going to come up short when you compare yourself to somebody else. You have no idea what's going on behind closed doors. You have no idea. All you're seeing, especially if it's somebody big and famous, you're seeing such a tiny little sliver of what their lives are about. Don't compare yourself to that. If you want what someone else has, success leaves a trail. Figure out how they got from point A to point B and go for it. Are you gonna make it? You might not. It depends on what you're trying for. I mean, like, if you wanna be an A-list actress, no chances are odds are you're probably not gonna make it. You might, but you can't compare yourself. It would be easy for me to look at all of my friends who are self-made millionaires and, uh, all my friends okay, there's not that many, but I have a few, and it would be really easy for me to be super envious, and I'll admit I fall into that sometimes. But you know what? Any one of them would be happy to explain to me how they got from point A to point B, and I could do the exact same thing that they're doing, and I could probably have a really good result. Just none of them are doing anything that really appeals to me apparently. But if you have to compare yourself to someone else, compare yourself to someone who is a lot less fortunate than you are. Why? Because it's gonna remind you to be grateful for the good things that you have in your life. Don't be jealous of other people. Because you know what? All those other people, they're jealous of somebody else too. So don't do that. It's comparison only robs yourself of all of who you are and of your own joy and your own happiness. Anyway, it's been a really strange day. I feel pretty good today. Knock wood. Um, I had a ton of energy earlier. But I've been really thinking a lot because I'm reading this John Maxwell book. I've been thinking so much about happiness and my mindset and my approach to things. And I got to tell you guys, it's not as good as I thought it was, but that's okay. I can't fix a problem if I'm not aware of it. So, anyway, that is all I have for tonight. Look, I'm not an expert on any of this stuff. All I can tell you is I used to be extremely depressed to the point of being suicidal because I couldn't see anything in my future besides more pain and more drugs and more medical appointments, and that's nothing to look forward to. And, now I like this morning, I exercised. I did 2 pretty strong workouts and I do that stuff because it makes me I lifted weights because it's important for my body, and I was like, "Yes, that's such a win," and then I got to dance as a reward to myself afterwards, which honestly is probably a little more exercise than my body needs because my body's very temperamental, but you know what? I love to dance. I am not willing to give that up, and I have to lift weights. It's not really optional at this point. If I wanna get healthier, I have to do these things, so I'll find a balance. Tomorrow is dancing, of course. I dance 6 days a week. Right now, I'm lifting 3 days a week and then doing yoga 3 days a week. So tomorrow is yoga day, and I'm actually kind of looking forward to it because I know I'm going to need it after weights. Anyway, ramble over. Y'all have a great night, and I will be back Wednesday at 5 o'clock Alaska time. Thanks.